Today marks the anniversary of the death of George Floyd. What lessons can be learned?
A lesson that can be learned is to not discriminate against one another. We should come together as a community and uplift each other and love each other instead of tearing each other down, because we are one. We shouldn't discriminate against sexuality, gender, race, age, beliefs, and we should all come together and love one another.
So a massive lesson we can learn from the death of George Floyd is that we get to see first-hand evidence of racism and how unfair it is. Like, it's very massive to suddenly go killing someone just because of the color of their skin. So I feel like we can all watch that and learn to treat other people, especially black people, a bit more better because they've gone through a lot.
The lesson that we can learn from George Floyd's death is that we should judge people by their cover and not stereotype people. We should also be open-minded.
We can learn that racism is still around, and it might not be as big as it was before, but it's still there and it's still affecting other people.
We can learn that everyone's equal, and that even though it's such a modern era, all the problems about racism haven't been solved yet.
What lessons can be learned from George Floyd's death is that police brutality doesn't just affect our community, it actually affects everyone, and we need to stand up against police brutality in general.
A lesson that can be learnt from George Floyd's death is just because an injustice doesn't affect you doesn't mean it's not happening.
Something that can be learned from the death of George Floyd is that racism is still prevalent in today's society, and we still need to do so much more as a society to combat it.
From the death of George Floyd, we can learn that there's still a lot of prejudice that people hold within themselves, and a lot of people still carry out a lot of their decisions based on biases.
What does Black Lives Matter mean to you?
Black Lives Matter means to me is that we should support the black community, and which, like I said before, don't judge the black people by the way that they look or dress, as they're like everyone else.
What does Black Lives Matter mean to you?
To me, it's kind of irritating how we have to show that our lives matter when we live in a society where everything now should be accepted, but we have to put it out there to the fact that we're still not accepted.
Rights for people with colour.
What does Black Lives Matter mean to me? It means that we're also allowed to strive for excellence.
The Black Lives Matter movement means to me a voice lifter that minority voices can be heard.
For me, Black Lives Matter is a movement not to tear any other groups down, but to uplift black voices and make sure that they are heard.
Black Lives Matter means to me that black people's voices are heard just as equally as other minority groups' voices are heard.
How can we encourage each other to be more inclusive?
Okay, so one massive thing I would tell everybody to think about when interacting with others or people of other race or gender or sexuality, I would say think about how you want to be treated. Like, say someone was to be racist to you, would you like it? So then, and try and implement that on other people.
Just accepting people as who they are. And we could raise money for charities and donations and stuff.
We could talk to each other about our problems and maybe put up posters and just raise awareness.
I think to build inclusivity, we need to understand that people have different cultures, and don't say things like, we don't see colour. We need to accept and appreciate people's differences and accept their colour and take that into consideration as a character.
A way to be more inclusive is seeing the differences as a good thing. Rather than marginalising differences, include them.
We can be more inclusive by not being complacent to racism, but being actively anti-racist and just making sure you're not including microaggressions when you speak, and just being very cautious of the things you say.
We can be more intolerant to racism by making sure that we try to make decisions more neutrally. For example, making a group in PE or a group in art or something, by including everyone and not making people feel left out because of their skin colour.
What can people do to stand up and speak out against racism?
Well, a lot of people in 2021 and 2020 have been putting inspirational quotes up on their social media saying that Black Lives Matter and everything else. And I think a way that we can help that out is by spreading those quotes and inspirational quotes and just spreading love around the world.
So definitely don't just stand back and watch when you see anyone, not just black people, anyone experiencing racism. Definitely speak out, point it out. Like, are you sure you should be saying those kind of stuff? Would you like it if you're being told those kind of stuff? Because in my opinion, everyone should be treated equally, like the same people, because we're all humans. We all breathe the same air, so we shouldn't be treated differently just because we look different.
We could do protests, we can put posters up around the school, we can talk to people about their problems and just raise money for the movement.
I think to stand up to racism, I think we need to really tackle the microaggressions that we deal with every day and stop letting people get away with the things they say to us. In situations like that, we should always kind of address the situation and not run from it. Definitely address it, and if you're not sure what to do, you should always speak to someone and see how they can adjust the situation as well. Sometimes it's scary coming out and kind of addressing your own friends on the situation, but I think it helps in the long run.
The best way to stand up against racism is educating yourself through social media and even just having conversations with your peers that are affected by injustices, but also with just general people to get educated and change perspectives.
You can stand out against racism by making sure that you are being self-aware and just not going with stereotypes. Yeah.
When you see racism, I think one of the main things that you can do is to make sure that the person understands why they're being racist and what words they're using and what they mean, so that in the future they can be more aware themselves and not be racist again.